Yeah. So obviously, we're watch guys. It's a watch podcast. It's Miami Watch Club and MIA Watch Club. So we want to start off with, sharing what we've got on the wrist, why, any history on it. I'm gonna go to Mikey first because I know he's got something special.
So I do have something special on my wrist just because I'm matching you.
Well,
All
there you
right. But
go.
other than that, I decided to bring something that's a little bit more personal to me. So I'll
Yes.
introduce that and I'll show you guys. So,
Well, what's on the wrist?
so what's on the wrist is a Tudor 54. It's
Black Bay 54.
Black Bay
if we're being-
54. So this is a Black Bay Tudor 54. The significance around this is mostly on the dial. So if you guys can take a look at it, it's a gilt dial, meaning that it's gold and it has gold hands and gold writing. So this is kind of a throwback to the 50s. What I decided to bring today is a watch from the 60s, a GMT Master 1675.
Oh, wow, that's pretty.
A little root beer action.
So this watch was given to me for my college graduation from my father. My father actually was gifted this for his college graduation in
Oh, man, that's
1967
amazing.
from medical school. So what's really interesting about this watch is it's in original shape.
It looks great.
Yeah, it's in great condition. 40 millimeter original size,
So
1675.
it's the all
is-
brown bezel instead of the two-tone brown and gold
Exactly. So
bezel.
that's a gilt
gilt-
version.
the gilt
That gilt version was from 1965 to 1967.
Maybe a nipple dial.
It is a nipple dial as well.
Yeah.
Good eye,
Nice.
Marty.
Yeah, Marty knows his shit.
Yeah, of course.
So this watch was
Seen one or
produ-
two vintage Rolexes.
That
but
watch,
yeah, it's beautiful.
that watch was produced from about 1959 to 1980. So it makes it one of the longest reference numbers of GMT Masters in production. That specific one is from 67.
Right, because
It's
this
a
is the
It
all
looks
stainless.
great,
It's not
man.
the-
Wow.
It's not
Full
the root beer
set.
two-tone. Yeah,
full
yeah,
set.
Beautiful.
Papers are
like that.
are open, which is
It's
interesting
like
too.
back to my original and still actually favorite part of collecting is the old vintage, vintage Rolex.
When you say the papers are open?
The papers are not signed by anybody. So
Wow.
back then they didn't necessarily have to
They didn't always sign.
put
back
them,
in
sign
those
them.
days,
So
yeah.
they're open. I didn't bring the papers. I have them in the
You can
safe,
still sell it.
but you could. But it's got some provenance to
I'm
it.
kidding.
Yeah, that's,
and
that's
then
never gonna leave his collection.
You'll notice that the bracelet is a little different than most Rolexes also.
Yeah.
So
That clasp,
you'll
that
see
is
that
very different.
that it's got like little screws
Oh,
on the
okay.
side.
Well, because it's the
So no
it's-
pins.
It's the hollow bracelets. So it's
Wow.
the lighter hollow bracelet. So it has the pins in here, and then it's the the older clasp instead of the flip lock, which is so this is 60s, early 60s,
67.
oh later 60s.
Yeah, 67.
Is it as light as your titanium, Marty?
No,
It's
but
not as light as
it's
a
not as light.
titanium.
I mean, the bracelet almost is, but
The
no,
bracelet,
watch
yeah.
But
itself is heavy.
it's got more swag. No offense, Mark.
But I prefer the vintage.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what got me into collecting. I've told you
Vintage
guys that stories
Rolex
many times.
has just more soul. I think Rolex is cool, and I think most watch collectors are. You start off with Rolex is king. I want a Rolex.
Right.
I want to be somebody. And then you get a Rolex. Maybe you get a few, and then, at least for me, I thought Rolex was boring or it's not for me. Went elsewhere, and then you come back, and you say Rolex is king for a reason, right? Rolex
Right.
is the best,
Right.
or
Yeah.
maybe not the best, but Rolex is solid.
They're
Rolex
the
is-
best at what they do. I
That's
think.
what they do, and given the
Yeah.
fact that they're a million
A million a year,
or something
yeah,
like, versus a Jordan that's 2,000 a year or
900
Well,
and then 400 of
yeah,
the
so
elegance.
I think
Yeah.
more like 1,800, but they like to say they're lower than that. But either way, not many. Lang's like 5,000, Paddock's like 60, AP's like
think Lang-
40,000.
I think
so you
Lang's
get-
less.
Lang's like 5,000, right?
I think
You think it's less?
I
than
think
that?
it's less, but
That's gorgeous.
I'm-
That's a great.
I'm
piece,
always
Mikey.
the,
Yeah, I think the individuality
long
of
supporter.
it is really what gets me when you get into the vintage watches. There's just so many different variations. You know?
Yeah.
You
The
got
problem,
gilt.
the problem or good with vintage Rolex is, first of all, mistakes usually are good, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure,
So the
of
ones
course.
where they make mistakes being more. But one of these things where, if an underline is there, it could be worth 3 times as much. If red subs, meter first instead of feet first.
Right,
I mean,
that's-
there's so
that's a
many
big one, yeah.
different things, and as I said, and that's, I guess back in mid early '90s is when I started. I had gold presidential, which now I guess would be a soprano, but I was like, no way, too much of a drug dealer watch, and wanted vintage, and that's how I got into watch collecting.
Mikey, what?
So this is
Just
beautiful.
going back to that, what did you say when you got that watch? I mean, what was? I know the significance, but
I had no idea what
really?
I had.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was 23 years old, just got out of school, starting my corporate career, working in the hospital system. Actually, the first couple times that I brought this into work, I felt a little overdressed and
Really?
and a little overzealous.
Yeah.
It wasn't what it was.
Just me being a young guy in a corporate
Yeah. And a
setting,
Rolex.
wearing a watch
And
like
wearing a
this.
Rolex.
It was, I didn't realize what it was,
Yeah.
in all honesty. So then I stopped wearing it for a while.
Is your father still here?
He is. Yeah, he's still with us. So, but there's a couple other watches still in his collection that eventually will be mine.
Don't get near a staircase, Dad.
Exactly. But for now, it's always better to give a watch with a warm hand.
Yeah.
than with
Yeah,
a
of
cold
course.
hand.
I'm always worried what my
Absolutely.
kids might do. I've given them a few.
I mean,
That's,
luckily for me,
I think that's an amazing
So far, I
story.
don't have kids, but when I do,
What's the
Oh, that's
what's the
gotta-
size?
that's
40,
gotta-
right?
so this is a 40 millimeter.
That's a perfect size.
Sometimes
for
it's
that.
like 39 and a half.
Right.
39,
Yeah,
some of the
it
ones
looks
back
a
from
little
that
bit
era.
smaller.
It might be
Yeah.
39.
What's also
39.5.
cool about this, it's got an acrylic domed glass, so it's not really glass,
Yeah.
it's plastic.
It's plastic.
Wow.
Steel plastic crystals.
And it's the original crystal, too. So you
That's
can tell
awesome.
that my pops took pretty good care of his stuff.
It looks great
Because a lot of
still.
those- 'cause those
Have
will
you serviced
scratch.
it?
No, that's also what's cool about it, is that this
But it's
watch has
working
never
fine?
been serviced, never been opened. So if you
Never
take a
been
look at the
serviced.
I'm
back-
of the belief.
Yeah, if
and
don't break it, don't fix it.
I don't
I'm,
know.
Yeah,
I'm of
yeah,
that belief.
yeah.
Don't serve, especially Rolex.
I agree.
Don't
Yeah, I
service
think
it
they
unless
don't-
it stops.
They don't need to be serviced really. That's
We're not
why-
giving you advice here.
Yeah,
This is
well,
just our
obviously,
opinion.
but-
I put them
but if
on
you-
winders. I do all kinds of stuff. But I've been lucky in
Yeah,
that.
which
dozens
there's
and dozens and dozens of
listen,
Rolexes. I haven't had a problem. One time
I don't know.
fixed one.
The jury's still out on winders or not. I don't put the only watch I will put on a winder is my date.
It's a pain in
But
the ass to
I'm
set.
yes, it's a pain in the ass to set, and I don't.
So I've had watches on winders for 15 or 20 years, and I've never had a problem.
I get it, but
But you might.
right. That's
You
what I'm
could.
saying. For
You
me
could.
personally, I think it's just I just don't do it.
I have a
So-
day date on an old day date on a winder because it's a pain in a single.
It's not a it's a single, not a half.
Yeah, it's a
this is-
single,
This is a
right.
single one,
Right,
too.
it's a
Yeah,
pain in the ass to
yeah,
set,
yeah.
and I also have my favorite Patek, the 5036 annual calendar, which is also a pain in the ass to set.
That those are
Start with
very,
the problem is
very
with some of the perpetual calendar Pateks. Like it's their manual wind, so the winders don't do any good. But some of them go
Yeah,
on a winder.
well, mine's an annual, but it's automatic, so I just leave it on a winder.
But I have my vintage sport models on winders because they are harder to set, especially the older ones because they're not quick set.
I personally
So
don't
I
believe in
started-
winders.
Yeah.
I
had a conversation
I'm with
with Marty
you.
about
I'm
it.
with you,
Yeah.
Mikey.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only got one watch on a winder.
Yeah.
Marty, what are you wearing today?
I'll go away from the winder. So I am.
I think we're
kind
glad
of-
that Cantor's not here.
kind of the opposite of a vintage
Show it to the camera.
Rolex, right? So
Camera thing.
an FP
I love
Jordan
it.
Elegante with the black dial, which seems to be the very hot rave now. I
Yep.
personally like the white dial better, actually. And my white dial, I kind of goof it around with pink straps, aqua straps. But here I keep it more classic with the gray that matches in. But it's a great watch, but it really is the opposite of kind of what we're talking about. I started really, as I said, with vintage Rolex and vintage watches. And then Jordan is such a, obviously, he's sort of the living Picasso of the watch
Yeah.
world today, right?
Yeah.
So I like his dress watches a little more than I like these, but I'm traveling and I'm moving around, so this is a fun watch for,
Super cool.
not that really you can say fun to anything, Jordan, they're all pretty substantial watches.
Sure.
Go back again to the history. As I said, I really love vintage Rolex, vintage Patek, some modern Rolex and Patek, and they're still probably my top two brands, but I've realized that in sort of the way I've tried to branch out is looking in the sport world at AP. And some people love, some don't, in the Rolex, as a sort of step up of the Rolex world. And then Jordan to me, though this is, again, a sport watch, the other Jordans that I have are the ones that I prefer is sort of, to me, the best possible complement to a dress Patek.
Yeah.
Because I think, Patek is still probably the finest watch brand in the world, but Jordan
I would
is
agree.
probably the most
sought after, maybe the
sought
most
after,
exclusive.
most-
Yeah.
Certainly from his movements and his design for a current
Yeah,
living watchmaker. Probably, I think he'll be, the Patek of the future.
Sure.
Now, last time we
So-
spoke, I brought in a battery-operated watch. Is that a battery-operated watch?
So this is an interesting thing too, because it is
Yeah,
of
tell me
quartz,
about that.
but it's a little bit different because now it's already in my hand and running, so you can't see it. I probably have a video of it I could show, which I'll look for in a minute. But this watch will stop when you don't wear it for a half hour or an hour. It'll stop, and whether it's days or whatever, when you pick it back up, it will come back to its original time. So it's not a typical quartz.
Yeah.
It usually gets a little insulted if you call it a quartz watch. But for a long time, Francois, which is FP Jordan, didn't like the Elegante, actually.
Yeah.
He kind of looked down on it.
It was a lady's
because-
watch,
yeah.
really, initially.
And it wasn't his fine movement.
Right.
But it's just, he's now done a lot more with it, and he's done some special things with it. So it's, it's a super cool brand. Obviously, it's got its own sort of uniqueness to the whole mystique of the Jordan folks and the clubs. But it's, great watches. And,
Jordan, definitely
I'm looking for the video.
the watch that's the watch brand that seems to be most sought after in our club.
Sure.
I mean,
What
we're
do you
also
think? What do
I
you
think
that is?
anywhere, really.
sure, but I mean,
Well, it's a watch lover, watch aficionado
Right.
brand, and we're all
Yeah.
watch aficionados. Right? Like everybody, not everybody, but people might say, like, I really want to buy a sub or a Daytona.
Right.
Daytonas, right? Everybody wants, but not necessarily watch people, or maybe
Yes.
real watch people for a long time probably already have a Daytona.
Right.
For a while, a lot of people were like, I really want a Nautilus or a AP, which are great watches, but again, they've been around longer. There's more access, as we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Rolex $1 million, Patek 60,000, and then these guys at 900 mechanical and maybe another 500 or 600 Elegantes or Symmetry blues, whatever they don't consider in their normal.
we're also in Miami, right? We have
And
we have a Jordan boutique, which they're not everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It is, in my view, the hub of the watch community in Miami. I'd like
Yeah.
to think that the Miami Watch Club is adding to that,
Absolutely. there.
but in a lot of ways, we
We're the hub.
were inspired by Tuesday nights at Jordan. First Tuesday of the month, we'd go there. I was talking watches, and
So would you guys consider FP Journe like the new cream of the crop of watches? Like that's kind of like the
there's-
pinnacle.
So here's so you guys
you
can
consider the
watch
pinnacle
as we
of this?
talk, right? You shake it, and then you see. I don't know if it can be on camera.
Oh, yeah, I
They're
see
coming-
that.
Here's the white dial, by
Let's
the way.
sit-
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and it goes back into setting of its time.
Because
So
like a
that's
couple
what I'm
years
showing,
ago,
but
it
you
was
probably
like
can't
everybody
see.
was all about the Holy Trinity watches, right?
Yeah.
Patek,
are we not?
BC.
Vacheron,
AP,
Vacheron, AP.
Well, I
right?
still think the Holy Trinity is pretty popular and pretty. I mean, Vacheron is a great brand, actually. It doesn't have the aftermarket as Patek or AP, but I mean, I still think. Well, they're talking about. Well, first of all,
I'm
independence.
a big fan of Vacheron. I would say maybe as much, if not more, than Patek, definitely more than AP, just because I think they're not doing, they're kind of sticking to the stuff that they know and the stuff that
They're the oldest
made
of them all,
them,
right?
they're the oldest,
1700s,
the
late
longest
1700s.
running continuous watchmaker. But I think they're sticking to what they know. Even in Watches and Wonders, you look at what they've done, and they only really updated the Traditionnel and the Patrimony line, which is their traditional dress watch lines. And so I think they're saying something by doing that. They're saying, hey, look, this is what we're good at. This is what we're going to stick with.
And they did the
they
most
had
complicated.
the most complicated watch in the world,
Wristwatch.
at least for this year.
Right.
And so I thought that was
Do you guys care about that?
out of the. I don't care, but I think it's very cool that they do
It's
it.
cool. It's cool that they do it.
Right.
It's a flex.
It's a
Yeah.
flex.
Definitely
It's a
flex.
flex. Yeah.
But I don't
But
care.
at the end
The
of
same
the
way, like
day-
Bulgari, the thinnest
thin-
watch.
Who
Yeah.
cares
I don't
about
give a
that? I don't
Also,
think. I don't
your-
care
your
at all.
average
Richard
watch
Mille
collector?
did the thinnest.
Yeah. Oh no.
Good, perfect.
Oh no.
He's gonna take over. No, no,
You'll be
he's
able to
gonna
take
over
my
for
spot.
Marty.
Because my wife's yelling at me now anyway.
All right.
Don't knock any of the cameras
Dr.
over there,
James.
Be
buddy.
careful, Doctor.
The original 4.
See,
Dr.
so glad you
Dr.
put that on the
Vijay.
rubber strap, man. So glad.
It's a different watch now. It's
the
a
way that
different
watch
watch.
is supposed to be.
Well,
Right?
Marty
Yeah.
can leave his watch and you can go home.
Exactly. So you can take my spot.
Are you taking
I
off?
do have the elegante. Well, I will. I was going to in a few minutes, but he's here, so he can take my spot. Or in a minute. In a minute after we're done with this discussion.
You're on deck.
We're doing the opposite. Last time.
That's right.
Yeah, last
Well,
time
actually,
you
no, I
took
took your
over.
spot. He stayed. I took your spot with the 4, yeah.
Dr.
So
James
we're
on
going to you now.
deck. Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do
Okay,
you
so
have
we're
on the
done with
wrist?
FP.
What's special about it? Talk to me.
Tell us the story
Cartier.
about
Tell
this
us the
watch
story.
and how hard it
And
was
we
for you
want
to
to
get it.
know where you picked that watch up.
Yeah. This was a.
I just want to know about the 5th, the TH, but I won't really. I'll
So
let, the doctor
I am
back into
wearing
that.
a Cartier Symmetry 5th Avenue edition, which limited.
edition.
I don't know exactly how limited. Dr. James might know more. I don't know if it's true, but I have a friend who was trying to acquire one, and I was trying to help him.
Can we see the case back?
And it's not an open case back. It's a
Ah.
platinum watch.
You can still see it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can, it has the red cabochon, which for Cartier is their way of
Should be
saying
blue.
it's a
Usually
platinum.
it's blue.
Right.
Yeah, it
it's
should be
platinum.
blue.
Usually it's the blue sapphire,
Sure.
right?
Here, I mean, I doubt you can see
Yeah,
it on
you-
camera, but so the Symmetrique is on an angle, and the 5 is where the 6 would normally be, and on this edition,
That's confusing.
it is
did
a little
you mess
confusing to
up the
tell the
time?
time. It is. You got to think about it.
Are you really telling the time on that watch?
These watches aren't for telling time. So on
The
the
watch is even for telling time.
on the 5, it adds the TH, which stands for the Fifth Avenue Boutique, the Fifth Avenue Mansion.
Which you're inviting us all to, right?
Well,
Let's hope.
so I will say
I want my Cartier
a
lunch.
special thanks to Anna Marola, my sales associate at Cartier, and Stefano, head of watches at New York, for making this happen. Not only the watch,
That's very nice of them.
but this was the best watch buying experience I have ever had. I've bought a few watches.
Wow.
It was amazing. A day I will remember. I think
And you're saying that even with your wife who was with you. Just can't wait if
he's
she's
kidding.
watching.
He's kidding. My wife went with me. They invited me to the mansion for lunch. So I had a suspicion that I may be getting this watch.
That's a very expensive lunch.
Yeah, and I was happy to pay for
In
it.
a lot of ways.
So I had requested this watch first in Miami, didn't really go anywhere, and then in New York I met Anna, excuse me, and
Yeah, it's beautiful.
they made this happen.
Which is also like a throwback to and this is also a throwback
Yeah.
to vintage in the 60s, 70s. I mean, it's not really. I mean, it's
I will
modern,
say
but it's
Cartier's biggest hits are their vintage throwbacks.
not- Yeah, they're all
yeah,
throwbacks.
I would agree with that.
And
And
they're-
just
you
the
know, we're seeing it
classic
now.
Of a tank. I mean, any classic.
Yeah.
Time.
Even
I
the
love
must,
every Cartier
the
tank.
Cartier, those are.
I'll tell you, I wasn't sure how that would fit my wrist just because of the
Oh,
weird
that's
angle.
good. That's good
But
for
it
you,
really,
Mikey.
really fits
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah,
It's a
great
fucking
watch.
banger,
it's
dude.
pretty-
I love
pretty
it.
beautiful.
I love it.
You're-
I
Yeah,
have.
see,
I love the way the numbers kind of disappear.
you guys can introduce the doc.
into
Yeah.
the dial. Yeah.
All
Okay,
right,
so now, yeah.
Marty out.
Marty, we love you, Marty.
Your Honor.
Thanks.